Never mind.
Hey, what's up? This is OlympusMons. Got Sinbad, of course, one of the hosts of the show. We got we call him, his name's Steven, but we call him Phant0m. We brought him on to the podcast today to kind of have the alternate point of view in the discussion and be a counter to anything that I'll possibly talk about. What's up, Sin? What's going down?
What's up, world? Not too much. We're just catching up here. It's been a while since we did a podcast, but hopefully we'll hit some good topics today.
Yeah, man. You want to say hi, Phant0m, to the audience?
Hello, my name is Phant0m, and I've been invited onto this here production to lend my expertise in my political punditry. I'm a political scientist. I have a bachelor's in political science from Southern Illinois University, and I'm here to offer my expertise. How is everyone today?
What is your political party that you what is it? What's your political party?
I don't identify with any of the organized political parties.
Oh, you're a liberal. Okay, cool.
But if you were to ask me what my, and I'll take the hat off because they said we want to be serious and more professional. So if you want to ask me what my actual political ideology is, that's another question.
I'm just fucking with you. What do you think the most controversial thing that's happened this week? Anybody?
I would say definitely the end of Donald Trump's presidential campaign, as any kind of a serious campaign that has a chance to win. I think that was the biggest news of the week, due to the leak of his Entertainment Weekly hot mic incident from 2005, where he is basically talking about, cavalierly about groping women, sexually assaulting them, and just the way he was talking about. He said he moved on her like a B word, and then you can grab. When you're a celebrity and you're famous, you can do whatever you want. You can grab them by the vagina. But he said pussy.
What he said?
Did I just say pussy? Oh, I'm sorry.
What he said was that he was acting like a bitch because of the way how he was like he was trying to get her. Basically, he was like tricking. He was doing anything possible, just like he was being a bitch. You know what I'm saying? No type of the charisma went out the window, and then he was just like.
Really, I kind of saw it as almost like a metaphor, as if he was saying, I jumped on her like a bitch, as if he was a dog and then she was the female dog and he wanted to jump her bone so badly. Like dogs, how they act when they see a potential mate, they just run up to them and start humping. So I figured I took it as a metaphor.
What about what I'm saying is that it's not like a dog. He's being a thirsty ass fool, you know what I'm saying? Trying to any way possible that and then he felt that he was degraded. He's like, man, I was a fucking bitch because I was like about to buy her ass furniture to get her in bed.
Yeah, well, first of all, who the hell takes a woman out to buy furniture if you're trying to hit that? I mean, whatever happened to like jewelry or flowers or taking her out for a steak dinner? Or you're taking her to RC Willie to get a couch, I mean, I don't understand. I just don't understand his game, first of all. But second of all, this is going to ruin this campaign, and it doesn't matter what anyone says. Like as far as he was just talking like a man, like how a man talks. I had someone tell me that last night in a different situation, and I was just thinking to myself, that's not how a gentleman talks. That's not how a real man. He conducts himself when talking about women. So I just don't see him winning the presidency. Do you agree that his chances are over now due to that or not?
It doesn't affect me one way or the other.
But I didn't ask you that. I don't care about your opinion about his remarks. I care more about your political analysis.
It does affect his entire campaign. The polls will show it. Just a couple points that he dropped today, but I think the bigger picture is, you know, what to take away what you said, a gentleman never tells, right? Doesn't kiss and tell. But I'd like to make the remark, we don't live in an age of chivalry anymore, do we? Do men still open doors for women? Do men walk behind the woman as she goes up the steps and walk in front of her as she goes down? Very few men actually do this and pull the chair out or stand up when a woman comes to the table. It's highly unlikely that you know, people will adhere to these things in the modern day. And being in locker rooms, I've seen talk far worse than this from people who are considered leaders or whatnot. So it does happen. The fact that it happened to a presidential candidate makes it real bad because it affects his candidacy, like you said. So yes, he does drop in the polls. Yes, it might affect his candidacy, but whatever he loses now, I think he could get back in the next debate, in the next town hall debate, which I think is Sunday. I do think he stands a chance at redeeming certain qualities.
Now, here's the thing: is I think he was really comfortable with Billy Bush. You know what I'm saying? And that like they were like loose with each other, and that's just the way you talk. I mean, I've had those types of moments with my coworkers where I'll be like I made my comment on my main channel about the subject, and I brought up the fact that like I was with my coworker and I was like, you see that lady over there, the guard, you know, we're driving up, and I'm like, don't she look like a pirate hooker? You know what I'm saying? Like imagine the pirate hooker. You know what I mean? That's what she looks like. You know what I mean? And that's the type of vulgarity that we deal with. And Phant0m, I've personally heard you talk. You're an owner of a pornography website, so multiple pornography websites, gay and straight. So I mean, what room do you have to talk about, you know, a presidential candidate talking loose with some dude?
Okay, so I have a lot to process here. As far as Sin's comments before you started to speak, I think this is different from just simple braggadocious, you know, machismo behavior that you would hear from people who are just trying to talk out, as they say. Okay, this is a case of someone who is showing his belief that he's entitled to be able to grab any woman he wants at any time. It's not like just, you know, about with men talking about, oh, did you see that girl? I bet her pussy is so wet, you know, and just talking dirty. It's this guy literally saying, like, the way he's talking, and this is the real Donald Trump. That's another thing. These sorts of hot mic, off-candid moments, that he's showing you his heart, okay? You know, when he walks out of the bus, that's the fake Donald Trump. You have to understand, when he's in that bus, we're getting to see how he really is. And I think that video shows millions of women all over the country who know what it's like to be fearful of the strength of a man and what the possibility that you may have to fight a man off if they are groping you in a situation, and that could lead to rape, by the way.
So he's a rapist.
Women are afraid of those things.
You're saying he's a rapist?
No, I'm not saying he's a rapist. What I'm saying, and by the way, he's been accused of rape by his other wife, by Ivanka Trump, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about.
So has Bill Clinton.
I'm talking. No one's caught Bill Clinton on video and audio talking about sexually assaulting women.
He's settled cases out of court.
But where's the video and audio? That's the age we live in. People, when they see it on TV,
I just told you, he settled cases.
Okay,
all right. So here, I just want to interject for 1 second. All right, go ahead, Phant0m. Go ahead.
He brought up my business. I have to respond to him as well. I am an owner of pornography websites. I work in the adult industry. Gay
website.
Gay, straight. I have a website where people shit, fart, and piss on each other. Okay, I do all kinds of stuff. Here's my point. All right, I'm not going at this from a morality standpoint. And if I ran for president, I wouldn't advise you to vote for me. I really wouldn't. I'm not a very good person. But I'm a political scientist. So what I'm here to do is I'm here to kind of enlighten you if you haven't thought about some things. Like if you haven't tried to put yourself in the situation of a woman, of a not a woman as in feminism, a woman as in just what women are politically and how they think politically. And when they hear, and when suburban women, which are the people who Trump needs to win over to in order to beat Hillary Clinton, hear him in this video, what they hear is their worst nightmare as far as their encounters with men. Some of them have experienced being groped without their consent. Some of them have been in these situations. This is doomsday for his campaign, and I think he may quit.
Well, I'd like to expand on that topic a little bit, looking at a lot of the quote-unquote victims of Donald Trump. I think there were a couple of them that in recent days have come out and done interviews to talk about their experience. And yes, they are horrifying. They're pretty detailed and disgusting. Coming from a Trump supporter, I found it disgusting to hear those them retell their stories. It was very horrific. However, with that said, the type of meeting arrangement that they were in, basically they were after Donald Trump's money. It was very obvious that these women weren't around Trump for his friendship. They weren't around Trump as family friends or coming over for a dinner to try food or wine tasting. They were there to make a business deal that had a 6 to 7 figure digit on the check. And Donald Trump was more than happy to, of course, show them around town, treat them to a good dinner and that sort of thing. And yes, he groped them and probably sexually assaulted many women. But I'd like to, still let it be clear on record that they weren't there just to hang out. They were there after millions, if not tens of millions of dollars for whatever they were trying to do. Now, the interesting thing is one of these women who was groped by Donald Trump while she was with her boyfriend at dinner with Donald Trump, basically went through a horrible divorce with her with her boyfriend after they were married, and afterwards started dating Donald Trump. Now, I assume when they were dating, they were having sex, etc. Donald Trump was her boyfriend for that time. So I just wanted to put for the record that a lot of people think that these women were just maybe some random employee of his, or maybe just a random person that happened to be in the same building as him, but it really wasn't like that.
I never put any stock in what you're talking about. Those are just people saying things. Okay, it's hearsay. I really don't believe anything unless I see evidence. That's just the kind of person I am. In this case, we have the evidence that he tried to fuck her, even though he was married and she was married. He tried to fuck her. She turned him down. Okay. He tried to get the poor woman fired from Entertainment Weekly because she refused to let him stick his fucking wrinkly old orange cock inside of her. He's disgusting. He's disgusting. He's a disgusting human being, and he shouldn't be president.
Well, here's a little conspiracy theory that I put up, that maybe this is all a tactic by the Trump campaign to start bringing up the rape allegations of Bill Clinton.
All right. Well, here's where my political science expertise comes into play. If they will not do that, if they're smart. If they go after Bill Clinton's indiscretions at this debate on Sunday, for instance, tomorrow, or if they do it any time in the future, it's going to magnify their woes several times over. And the reason is because the same thing that happened in the 90s will happen again. When you do that, you turn Hillary Clinton into a victim. Okay? You can't play the angle where you say, oh, but look what Hillary Clinton did to the accusers. Look how she treated the accusers. That doesn't work either, because any woman who's been cheated on, I guarantee you they wanted to rip apart whatever slut was fucking their husband. So all it does is it turns her into a victim. Politically, it's poison for Republicans. Ask Newt Gingrich. Ask a lot of Republicans in the late 90s that said goodbye to Congress because of their attempts to go after Bill Clinton in his indiscretions. It only turned Hillary Clinton into a bigger superstar because she was looked at as someone who could overcome adversity and overcome a lot of pain as a woman, as a strong woman. And it's basically responsible for her winning the Senate in New York. So please, by all means, Donald Trump, do that, and it'll just make shit worse for you. That's just plain and simple. Anybody, Republican political pundits and scientists will tell you the same thing. They'll tell you not to do it. Don't do it.
Well, it's definitely risky, but go ahead, Sin.
The interesting thing about conspiracy, right, is that if they go after Clinton for anything that, you know, is considered a conspiracy theory, they are also at risk. Everybody in the Senate and in Congress is at risk. To blow one person out the water in that direction would, you know, put a noose around everyone's head. So it's not like, if you look at the way elections go, especially Bush and Kerry, they would never, each of them never brought up the fact that they were in a clandestine organization at Yale together. The whole goal of finding a person to run against of equal value to you is so that you can both go for the same prize without playing too dirty. You can play dirty, right? But you can't play too dirty. In other words, Trump and the Trumps and the Clintons are good friends. They're family friends. They're both in New York. They're both in the upper echelon. They see each other throughout the years at the same places, the same parties. They're part of the same group of people. So they both have equivalence in terms of running against each other. And there is an unwritten rule that you do not go into what we call, you know, the conspiracy. You don't jump off the deep end, because that'll just make Trump a conspiracy theorist, and it'll label him as one of those crazy nuts that believes in reptilians, et cetera. You know, we had this discussion with Ryan Dawson the other day at what happens if you try to expose something considered a conspiracy. You're automatically labeled in a, you know, you're placed into a group of crazy people. So it would be very bad for the Trump campaign for them to bring up anything without hardcore evidence. And I think they should just stick to whatever they have with the emails, whatever they have, you know, that's on paper, that has a paper trail, and something that they could actually, you know, show to the American people, instead of, like Phant0m was saying, hearsay. We can't use hearsay as the primary argument. It can be secondary or tertiary, but you cannot use it as primary arguments.
But what about the media, man? Basically telling you how you should think, like them basically putting out there, this is the end of Donald Trump's presidential bid. You know what I'm saying? Number one, they'll switch back and forth between news and stuff like that, the things that are going on normally in the world, but they're right back to, you know, Trump, this new thing, and playing the audio fucking 20 times, and then MSNBC is doing the same thing. This was all uncovered by the leaks and the DNC, is that the mainstream media is doing everything possible to put Hillary Clinton in office, dude. You know what I mean? And the first step to hypnotization is repetition. So, I mean, all they're doing is it really is a psyop. You know, making you believe how they want you to believe.
I don't agree with you, because I haven't seen. I watch. Here's what I do, and I can even prove it to you if I wasn't too lazy to point my webcam on my TV. But I have Xfinity Comcast TV, so I have a queue. I press the last button on my remote, and I have my 8 favorite channels, and I have all of them there. Okay, I give fair and equal hearing. I even begrudgingly sit through Fox News just to, and I do it at times. What I do is when something important breaks, okay, politically, I immediately switch to Fox News. I want to see if they're going to break in with it. Usually they don't, if it's disfavorable to Donald Trump. So the bias that I see mostly is from Fox News, by not reporting the facts or not reporting on important information. And so I don't see lies. If it was true, if what you were saying is true, I would see lies. I don't see lies on MSNBC. Is MSNBC a liberal tilted network primarily? Yeah, they are. Okay. Is Fox News extremely conservative, even more so than MSNBC is maybe liberal? Absolutely. Fox News is the most biased news network on television, period. Okay? Doesn't matter what side they go. If they were liberal, if Fox News was liberal and they were as extreme as they were with that ideology, they'd still be the most extremely biased news network. So what I see mostly is a lack of coverage, which is an inherent bias, because they're failing to report important information to people, whereas MSNBC is reporting it. So I don't see that. I don't see a conspiracy in the media. I think what they are is they're appalled. They're appalled by Donald Trump, just like an average citizen would be when he says horrible things, and they think it's important to announce that, report on it, and they should. What should they sit on the story that
I'm not appalled by it. I find it funny. I find it.
But should they not report when he says every time he says something crazy? Should they just not report it? Is that what you're saying?
They shouldn't repeat it over and over again and develop.
It's unbelievable though. That's why they do it, because you haven't seen anybody like it.
I posted a link in the main chat, CNN.com. All you got to do is open it up, and it's all dedicated to fucking Donald Trump and his fucking bullshit. You know,
it's his fault. It's not the GOP fault.
Dude, they repeat themselves, dude. And I'm telling you,
what has Hillary Clinton done outrageous? Can I ask you a question?
When you're dealing with psychological warfare, the first step in hypnotizing people is repeating it over and over again.
Well, this is what I understand. Phant0m has a good point. I do agree Fox News is heavily biased, more so than the liberal end, but there are more liberal, like I can name 10 left-leaning networks out there, and I can only name maybe 1 or 2 conservative networks out there. So I feel that
it's a dying ideology. That's why. Well,
I mean, I feel that Fox News, if there were more news networks like it, they would all be, you know, they would feel the need to be more moderate because there's so many of them. But when they're the minority, you know, like any minority group in America, they feel the need to express themselves more so than other people for some reason, because their voice is just not as big. So I think it's a compensation for, it's like the Napoleon compensation, you know, you're small, so you try harder. But it's, like you said, there needs to be a moderate news network, an objective news network, and there isn't one. And that's the problem.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. It's called PBS. Okay, PBS News couldn't be more objective. And I'm telling you, here's what I'm saying. All right, Fox News doesn't report the vagina grabbing the vagina until like hours after it happened, when everyone's gone to sleep. MSNBC breaks into normal coverage and reports it during a hurricane. That's the difference. This is important information, and you're not considering one important factor, and that is who views these channels. Okay, that's why I'm not so concerned about biased news, because usually people viewing Fox News are Republicans anyway, so they're going to hear what they want to hear, and you're never going to get them to vote for Hillary Clinton. Do I think that if Fox News was more fair and balanced, they'd get them to vote for Hillary Clinton? No, so I don't care. But what I do care about is the fact that there are a lot of Republicans out there who may vote for Donald Trump because they didn't hear the 50 outrageous things that he did this week. They didn't have no clue. And then if you tell them about it, they just say, oh, what are you watching, MSNBC? They're just a bunch of lies. And it's not a lie. He really said it. He really did it.
Yeah, right. I agree with you 100%, but let's be honest here. The average American, not the above average, but the average American, I don't think they actually know that Fox News is right, or I don't think they know what right and left are. I really think that majority of Americans don't even have cable, that a lot of them just turn on TV and watch whatever, you know, is on the major news networks. And the thing about public broadcasting is that it's public. It's not privatized. There's no urge for kids to go and watch PBS over Fox Kids or some other TV show with the good cartoons on it. Like when I was young, you know, I watched Sesame Street when I was in daycare, but when I got home, I wanted to watch, you know, the Power Rangers or X-Men or whatever was on the good programming. And I grew up to an adult that same way, to where I listen to NPR, but I feel like when I watch Fox News, or even when I stream CNN, or even offshoots like RT Russia Today, or the Young Turks, that I feel as if I feel like I'm watching something that's more entertaining than NPR. And NPR just seems so boring.
I'm glad you said more entertaining, because that's the point I'm trying to tell you. The reason why nobody watches PBS is because news has become entertainment. That's the problem with news. News should be news. If you're tuning in to be entertained, then you're not being informed. You're being entertained. That is the problem.
Yeah, but being aware of the New World Order and being aware of psychological warfare, you should definitely be wary of what somebody's telling you should think, and instead of just presenting the facts. The news has become more emotional. It hasn't become, and it plays on your emotions rather than just this is Dan Rather here with the news, you know. breaking today. Instead of that, it's like, no, can you believe what happened? And let's repeat it over and over again, and then put it on our main page on CNN.com.
It should.
And then have a pop up when you're just browsing and you have the window open of CNN.com of the audio just playing in the background to just pop up and come on, so you automatically hear it for the 50th time.
They should.
That's psychological warfare, Phant0m.
No, it's not. It's informing the public. You need to inform the public.
Do you understand what it's about? It takes like 7 times for something to get ingrained into your brain, for you to hear something 7 times, and then it's permanently in there. And then when somebody's putting information into your fucking head, it's there in your subconscious, Phant0m. That's what I'm trying to get to you.
Yeah, I know all about psychological warfare. They used it on 9/11 because they kept playing the same exact clip verbatim of the towers crumbling down. They played it, I think, 377 times in a 24-hour period when 9/11 occurred. And some people watched that coverage that entire time, very little sleep. And they saw that image so many times that it literally probably imprinted psychologically in their brain. But we're not talking about something like that. We're talking about important information that needs to be disseminated. Some people may not be watching MSNBC. Maybe they only go on the internet. Maybe they don't watch news on television. So it's good to have it there as well. And I would say that story should have been the headline for that cycle. It's appropriate. What else was more important other than the hurricane that should have been top of the news for the last 24 hours, other than Donald Trump talking about grabbing women's pussies and shit? You tell me.
I mean, I felt that kind of a news headline should have been like maybe extra, or those TV, the type of people who report on celebrities and what they're doing and that sort of thing. Entertainment, the weekly, that the show that he was basically that leaked it. Shows like that should have covered it more. The news maybe should have covered it, for a major primetime segment. But for its amount of repetition, I feel as almost it's like Hillary Clinton and her fainting or stuff like that. I feel like they don't showcase too much of Hillary's bad side. They do showcase it, but they also suppress it to some degree. It's almost as if, I don't want to say they're biased, because we've said bias a million times, but it does feel like the left-leaning networks do favor.
Come on, man. I watch MSNBC like 24 hours a day. They showed Hillary Clinton fainting on the top of the hour every hour for like a day and a half. They played that video so many fucking times of her fainting at the 9/11 ceremony. They played it probably more than Fox News. They probably played it more than Sean Hannity would have ever hoped for in his wildest dreams.
Right, but again, like you said earlier, it makes her the victim. Like whatever bad they put to Hillary, they make her, they victimize her. They paint her in a bad light, yeah, but it's the kind of bad light that makes you go, damn.
Yeah, well,
fucked up, but I feel bad for her.
Bill Clinton and see how that turns out. Then, like I said, because then they're really going to have a field day turning her into the victim. And
let's not forget that this was recorded without his permission. As a hot mic, there's people have the right to privacy, and if he didn't want that put out there in the public, it shouldn't be out there.
No, you're wrong. I'm sorry, you're just completely wrong. He was mic'd up because he was literally in the show. Okay, the moment he stepped foot on the bus, they mic'd him up, and that's it. Okay, they're recording everything from that point on contractually. He was appearing for a reality show or some sort of show on ETV.
You don't know what the fucking contract said, so don't.
Well, here's the thing. Phant0m actually has a point.
Wait a minute. Mark Burnett, the owner of The Apprentice, okay, the creator of The Apprentice, the famous Mark Burnett, said the other day that anything that you say, outtakes that you say, like stuff when the camera isn't rolling, but your mic may still be hot, is owned by the production company who you signed a contract with. You can't have that protected. That's not your part of the Constitution. There's no law that says you can't release it.
The moment you sign a release form as an actor or participant in an interview, whatever timestamp is on that release form, or whatever date of filming is on there, whatever audio, whatever video, whatever images of you are taken, like Phant0m said, it becomes property with worldwide unlimited distribution rights by that group, unless stated otherwise in the document. So as long as they still have those actor or participant release forms that are signed by them, which all people have to sign before going on a TV show, then yeah, it's legal. Donald Trump cannot sue them. But I wanted to bring up the fact of a previous account with a similar incident, and the owner of the Clippers, when he was when his associate, the female / male, I don't know what she is, but she was his escort or girlfriend at the time, and she recorded him illegally with a cell phone. That was a different case with Donald Sterling, but the thing with Sterling was that people felt like after the recording came out, originally people were mad at him, this and that. And then after he was kicked out of the Clippers organization, after he already, was punished by society and so forth, later on, when people were polled about it, a lot of people felt that his privacy was invaded, that he was actually a victim of that. And I think the same will be for Donald Trump. I think at first society will lash out at him. They'll be mad. And then after a few weeks from now, people will look back on it and say, oh, come on. He didn't know he was going to be listened to by other people. If he did, he would have been, much better in conversation. And, yeah, I think that time is the only factor. With time comes acceptance.
I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of what's legal, what's not legal, but I will give you my quick opinion on why I disagree with you on the LA Clippers owner. The law, first of all, there's a federal law and then there's state laws that modify it, okay? There's a lot of different states that have different laws on these rules about what constitutes violation of someone's privacy.
No, federal law always supersedes state law.
The federal law, if you're only going by federal law, then she didn't violate the law, because the federal law only covers telecommunications. It doesn't cover any other type of communication, such as chatting or video recording. Okay, like if I'm recording a video of my son playing soccer, and I happen to pick up someone next to me committing a crime or saying something offensive, then he has no rights. Now, if I called him on the phone, and it was an actual phone call, all right, a conversation between two consenting adults, then and he said something and I was recording it, then that would be a violation of the federal law if I released it publicly without a court order or a official court release. If it was part of a legal case and then it was released by a court. Now, what she did is she recorded him with the phone's audio recorder or the video recorder and just had the audio and didn't have the video. I can't remember exactly, but it didn't occur in the middle of a phone call. So therefore, neither the federal nor the state laws apply to the situation. So I have to disagree with you on that.
Well, I mean, the only reason I bring it up wasn't the legality of it. I was bringing it up for the simple fact that of critical reception after the fact. So after he was exposed and it leaked out, the owner of the Clippers was demonized and he was kicked off as owner, and a lot of bad stuff happened to him. But after that, like now, even now,
he's a racist, and his team is all black people. I mean, what do you expect?
But after the fact, there was an immense amount of apologetics. There were people who analyzed the situation and took to the other side, or it was at least split 50-50. And I think the same is with Donald Trump. A lot of Republicans are pissed. A lot of Democrats are pissed. But by the end of the next debate, most people will have moved beyond this and will defend him. I think that it's just a matter of time.
How much more is there? E! Entertainment says they have hours and hours that they haven't released. This is the juiciest one, but what else? And then then you have.
They already lost the element of surprise.
I think we lost Phant0m.
What was that? I lagged up. Then you have The Apprentice. You got Mark Burnett, who's kind of hinting at, there's a lot of pressure on him now to release the, the outtakes behind the scenes when the cameras were rolling on Donald Trump on The Apprentice, when he knew where they weren't recording, but they were recording and the mics were recording, but it wasn't like an actual scene where he was supposed to be doing something. And Mark Burnett and a lot of people on that show claim that Donald Trump, that's how he was talking around them as well, in that kind of fashion. So how much more is there going to be? I mean, there's less than a month left before the election. So if all you're going to be hearing about is all these videos of Donald Trump and audio of him being a misogynistic pig for the next month, it's over. This one incident, it's over, in my opinion. But I'm just trying to pile on top of it for you.
I could see them doing that, but they lost the element of surprise with this one. Whatever they wanted to release, they should have made sure it's the juiciest, worst one and go with that one so that it's, it's the same thing.
You want to know what I think? If I had it, I would release it the fucking day before the election. So just wait.
But the thing is with that, the more they release that are similar, I think the Republican or the non-voters, even when they see it, they'll see the Democratic Party as desperate. And even though the Democrats might win, they'll win desperately. They'll be doing everything in their power to attack a man's character instead of his political stances and political ideologies, which is, is the ultimate straw man move you can pull on from one party to another. And it'll work, but it's an act of desperation.
But isn't
an act of desperation.
A win though.
If he's a pig, he's a pig. If you're pointing out the facts, no one wants to elect a pig. No one wants to elect a pig.
Oh, come on. If being a pig disqualifies you as a president, we'd have no presidents.
They weren't pigs. They were philanderers. That doesn't mean they were pigs. People cheat on their wives all the time. We're not just talking about simple cheating. We're talking about a way of thinking of women.
I don't know. I was never alive or privileged to be in the elite white American Masonic circles of fraternity chatter, but I'm almost sure if it's anything like my fraternity was, then definitely there's some pretty gross discussion going on.
I don't think very highly of women anyway. So I mean, I'm pretty sure, you know what I mean, that.
We lost whatever female listeners we had. Long time ago.
If you're a woman, please just close this window. Let's change let's switch topics, because I mean, I know I'm not in control here, but I think it's due time, and there's a debate happening tomorrow, and I think it's important to talk about the last debate and go over some of the different things about it from a political analysis standpoint. And because you guys are talking about I made some notes here about it, and you guys are talking about what Donald should do to get out of this, and how he should go to the debate and come back. That's what Sin's talking about. Well, he can come back. Good. Next debate, then they'll forget about it, and then they'll come back. Okay, so here's the truth. Okay, first of all, he has to practice. That's just number one. He didn't practice, and it doesn't look like he's practicing this time either. So that's not good. Second of all, you have 90 minutes. You can bring up whatever you want. Doesn't matter what the moderator says. You can bring up whatever you want. Hillary Clinton did it with Lisa Machado. She did it several times. She knows what she's doing. 45 years in politics. That's the way you got to look at it. Now, at the last debate, here's a list of things he didn't bring up. Okay? He didn't bring up Benghazi. He didn't bring up the emails, not once. Once he brought up the emails, sorry. But he didn't bring it up enough. He didn't spend enough time on it. He didn't bring up Super Predator. He didn't bring up criminal justice reform, the fact that Bill Clinton passed criminal justice reform, which the African American community is very unhappy about now that they see the results of that legislation. He didn't bring up her vote for the war. He allowed her to attack him on his original support for the war on Howard Stern, even though he denies it. We all know he originally supported the war, but he failed to come back and say, "Hey, well, you voted for the war too." Stupid. He's a stupid idiot. That's why. He didn't mention the Supreme Court one time. The Supreme Court is the main reason why a lot of Republicans that are voting for him, that's the only reason they're voting for him. Literally. If it wasn't for the Supreme Court, if there was no chance of a vacate on the court in the next 8 years, he would not even have close to the support he has. Okay, so tell me, if you're a politician, how you go 90 minutes and you don't bring up any of that.
The problem was, I think, that they put him on the defense from the very beginning. So whatever time he spent talking, he was too busy defending, and he would forget and lose track of time and forget to transition into a new topic and attack her and put her on the defense. That's what his problem was. He just spent the whole time talking, defending himself, and then when she goes to talk, she would put him back on the defense. She would take another jab at him instead of rebutting his rebuttal. So he needs to understand pace. That's his problem. Donald Trump didn't have pace. He needs to take less time rebutting and more time going on the offense. And I'm pretty sure his team is smart enough to see that and to prep him for this one. I think that's the point of the first debate. It's to see your enemy, to know thine enemy. And your second debate is where you flat out destroy them. I think it was similar last year in the elections. The first debate, I think Obama was doing pretty bad and he was on the defense. And then the second debate, he came back striking, knocking him down. So again, I just think...
Well, that's Obama. But let's be honest. That's Barack Obama. This is Donald Trump. Okay, let's just make that clear.
I mean, he has a TV show, right? It's very similar ratings, this and that, looking at what your first episode, how your pilot episode did, and then making sure that your second episode is a little better, the screenwriting is different, or you make changes. So hopefully his team is good enough to see those mistakes and teach him how to do it correctly. I mean, I think that's his only hope, his only chance. The only other option is to let Hillary bully him into a corner and for him to be on the defense the entire time and to look just as bad as he did the first round. So again, it's just a matter of his team prepping him and making sure he has the right answers this time.
I'll be so disappointed if Hillary Clinton becomes president. That's it. That's bottom line.
There's I don't know. There's like we talk about conspiracies. There's a change coming. There's something big coming to the world. You know, we've always talked about it in our conspiracy chats that ultimately, when shit hits the fan, it doesn't matter who's president. It doesn't matter who's a superpower or not. Whenever global climate change happens, and it happens to an extent that we lose a large amount of the Earth's population, everything changes. So if that happens in Clinton's time, then I don't care if she's president. You know what I mean? Like, if that happens in the next 4 to 8 years, I don't care who's president, because it's not going to matter. They won't be able to look good. They're just going to look horrible. They're going to look like the people who were around when shit hit the fan, and the blame will be on them no matter what. Just like, you know, if you look at the Great Depression, World War I, World War II, whoever was president or a world leader at the time, the blame falls on them. Like, look, you were leading the world. What happened? Why did you allow this? How could this possibly happen under your watch? So again, if Trump is president, I don't mind. If Hillary is president, I don't mind, because in the end, I think that real change is going to happen. You know, and it's from a religious standpoint, it's also pretty big. You know, people who think that the world is coming towards World War III, or what they call Armageddon. Whoever's president during that World War III, they're gonna look really bad. People are gonna hate them, just like, you know, people hated Bush because of the Iraq War, etc. It's gonna be 10 times worse for whoever's president during World War III.
Who do you think is more likely to bring upon World War III, Clinton or Bush? You know, Clinton or Trump?
I think Clinton, because of her policy and support in the Middle East for world peace. Anyone that tries to make world peace, or to make Israel and Palestine a two-state whatever, or, you know, the thing that Kerry's trying to do. The Democratic Party has been trying to do this forever. Bill Clinton tried to do it. And the Republicans, they just say, forget anyone outside of America, bomb them, destroy them, forget about them. The Democrats are not so much. So I think Hillary, you know, if they try to bring about world peace, that is usually the litmus test for World War III. Whoever is able to make Palestinians and Israelis sit down at a negotiation table is going to start World War III. It's pretty obvious.
What about Clinton's need to be like superior and set a precedent with Vladimir Putin when obviously, you know, Trump might have dealings in Russia that makes him, you know, have clout there, you know what I mean? And build a partnership rather than a, you know, enemies between the two countries, American and Russia.
Well, Russia, for one, you know, Russia, I put Russia and China into the same category. The way that they fight wars is very different nowadays. Like we're so used to the Cold War mentality, like an arms race type of war, a war where we're not really fighting with ground troops or anything like that. But just to put in perspective, China and Russia combined have the potential to conquer the world at this point. The only thing stopping them now is the fact that the world is divided into certain factions, to where there's a Western bloc, there's the Eastern bloc, and then there's the Middle East Africa situation. So this division, the smart thing for them to do, for anyone who's socialist or communist or from the Eastern red flag nations, the smartest thing that you want to do is if you have multiple groups, is you want those multiple groups to fight a war first. And then whoever wins that war, you want to fight the winner. You don't want to get into a world war situation with different groups involved. You just want to have one main group that's war battered and beaten up, and then swoop in and just take the throne. So I don't see Russia or China making any large moves in the near future. They're more patient about that. So in that retrospect, I think Clinton will do just fine with Russia. I don't think she would start a war. I don't think a war would start in Russia because Hillary's lacking business dealings like Trump is. And if Trump is president, that's better, you know, for the, I guess there's less animosity with Putin and that sort of thing. So it's a better foundation. But again, Clinton can do just as fine. Whatever Kerry's doing now to mess things up, she can repair later on by appointing a different Secretary of State, so that, you know, Putin isn't thinking Kerry. He's thinking, oh, new regime change, Clinton's Secretary of State. This is a different person. We're starting fresh. So I don't think Hillary would really trigger World War III with Russia.
Can I say something? This might surprise you, okay? Knowing me, okay? Because everyone knows how anti-war I am, anti-intervention, and all that. But we have got to do something in Aleppo where we need to take control of that city. I mean, period. We have to move in. We have to militarily secure the area where the rebels are being bombarded on a daily basis out of a humanitarian responsibility. And that's all there is to it. It has nothing to do with going against Assad or Russia or anyone. I could care less about them. On a humanitarian justification, we should do whatever it takes to secure that city and then destroy tactically with drones or other aircraft the offensive weapons that are being used to bombard that city and other areas with missiles. Currently, it's a disaster.
So you actually agree with Republican foreign policy then?
I agree with Mike Pence on Aleppo. I don't agree with the safe zone idea. The safe zone idea is garbage. That's just something they made up so they can not look so bad about talking about refusing Syrian refugees. Safe zones aren't going to help. You have to go in and take over. I'm not saying we should occupy Syria, but we should definitely occupy a very small area where this humanitarian crisis is going on, because Aleppo is surrounded by minefields. These people cannot leave, okay, even if they wanted to. So people who say, oh, you should just leave. If they leave, they could be blown into 1,000 pieces by a mine. There's millions of mines surrounding the city. So we need to get in there, clear the mines out, secure routes and checkpoints for the UN and the Red Cross and the aid that needs to get in there. And that should be our first priority, is feeding those people, getting them water, and then making sure that they're no longer being bombarded by Russian and Syrian forces. And if that, and you know what, that's not going to start World War III. Okay, it's not going to start World War III if we did it. Russia doesn't have the fucking testes to start World War III over Aleppo. They're never going to do it. They think we won't do it. That's why they're doing what they're doing. Period.
But don't you think it's more of a job for maybe NATO by way of the UN? I know Benghazi was a big fuck up, but don't you think that it's more of a world, combined effort situation rather than just America?
No, I don't. I don't, because I don't trust. First of all, I don't trust our so-called Arab allies to do the right thing in any situation. I don't trust Saudi Arabia. I don't trust the UAE. I don't trust any of them. Okay, that's number one. Number two, this is our fault. Period. When something is your fault, you need to do what you need to do to make up for that horrible mistake. Okay, if we had never invaded Iraq, this never would have happened. Saddam Hussein would still be in power. People would be, under a dictator's thumb, but ISIS wouldn't be spreading like a cancer across the Middle East, and Aleppo wouldn't be being bombed, and Bashar al-Assad would be in power, and we'd have the dictators where they belong, and democracy where it belongs. Because it doesn't belong everywhere, that's clear.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree that something has to be done for Aleppo, but I just wanted to drop this. I know you're not a religious man, too much into scripture, but there is an old saying that World War III does start in Asham, which is Syria, for lack of a better term. It is Syria. So to see Syria in this war-torn state, there's a lot of stigma, especially in the Arab world with that region. If Americans were to go in there, even if we don't believe it will cause a world war, I'm too afraid to think that they would think that. You know what I mean? Like, they believe in this scripture so much, they believe in these prophecies, so that if America occupied their foreign territory, they would see it as an omen or a call to jihad. And I think it might escalate. You don't want to occupy the land, like you said.
We've already been doing that. We've been doing that since 2001. What's the difference? This time it'll be for a good cause.
The difference is that the original reason why we did it was to stop the attackers that terrorized us from doing it again, and secondly, to get weapons of mass destruction out of the hands of a crazy individual, which turned out not to be true, but it was the original reason. So it all sounded good on paper, and this time it does sound good on paper. Again, a good reason to go in, but like the previous two scenarios, they might not see it as a good reason. The Arabs, the Muslims of that area, will see it as an excuse from the New World Order. They believe in the Illuminati. Those Arabs, they'll put blame on America. I think, even if we don't occupy it,
okay,
they'll go and do attacks in France, and they'll do attacks in Europe just to get back at America. And that's what I'm afraid of, Phant0m. I'm afraid.
Well, they're gonna do it anyway, dude. Here's the way I look at it, man. They hate us enough already. They can't hate us anymore. We've already been there. We've already occupied their lands for over a decade. Okay, so you can't do any more harm. That's the way I look at it. And if there's a humanitarian crisis, we should do something about it. Now, how can we do something that doesn't involve actual American troops entering Syria? Yes, we can still do something. Right now, we're doing nothing. Okay, so whether it's using the Navy and cruise missiles, and possibly even flying over, violating the airspace, and using Predator drones or whatever you got to do to take out those batteries and take out those physical weapons that are being used to bombard Aleppo. Okay, and then I've heard some generals suggest and say that it could be possible to use cluster ammunition to destroy the minefields around Aleppo as well. Why aren't we doing that? We could drop leaflets down into Aleppo and say, hey, we're going to get rid of the mines, stay in your houses, don't go out, and don't worry about it. It's us. It's the good guys. We're bombing the mines. And we could bomb the mines, okay? We can be doing a lot of things that we're not doing right now. And I think I don't speak ill of Barack Obama a whole lot, but I really think that he needs to grow a spine on this one. You have to go in there and you have to fucking do something. And right now we're doing nothing.
Maybe he's just a good learner. Like Bill Clinton did it, right? He went over there into Bosnia or whatever. He did the airlifts and he helped them. And then look what happened to him. He got impeached, or he got, the whole everything blew up in his face. So maybe there's something that we don't know about Phant0m. Maybe there's something, up there, the powers that be, that when you're president, you just know not to step over your bounds in foreign policy for one way or another. Maybe there's something that we don't know about. Because, you would think that Barack Obama is smart enough, he's compassionate enough to know what we know right now. I'm sure his advisors are just as smart as us. I think they've covered this, but there has to be something, because me and you don't agree on certain things, but we all agree that humanitarian aid is necessary, yet they're not doing it. These are logical human beings as well, Phant0m. So
they can't get in. They can't get in. They tried to get in. One of their trucks gets bombed. They can't get into it. They can't even get into the town. That's the problem, because no one is helping to secure routes. No one is clearing the routes. They're just saying, okay, there's a ceasefire. Now you can go in with the aid, but they can't get in there with the aid. And people are going to start starving to death, literally.
I agree with you 100% on helping them. I just don't know how it's possible without starting World War III.
Do an airdrop. Do an airdrop. Do a massive aid airdrop right in the middle of Aleppo.
Okay, let's say we do that. Okay, right. The Turks are against they're against ISIS. They're against the way that things are working, they're against the Kurds. So if we help one organization, if we happen to be against Turkey, if Turkey perceives us as a threat, Turkey's a NATO nation. They're a nation of Europe. They're not some Middle Eastern Arab conglomerate of OPEC. They're pretty much the EU. They're not the EU, but they're pretty much a NATO state. Okay, and then we can't piss off the Arab nations. The OPEC, they control the money. They control the oil. We can't piss off the Russians, because God knows that we don't want another Cold War. So
what about an aid airdrop? That's not an offensive? That's not a military offensive maneuver. That's just you're dropping food and water on people who are starving to death. How could even a ruthless dictator, or even the most ruthless regime, even Turkey, how could they possibly come out against it?
Well, it depends whose airspace we're violating. We have to go in from somebody's airspace through our military bases, and we have to get their approval. We have to get their approval.
Come through. Look, so Syria, I hope I know geography right. Turkey borders Europe, okay? You go from Turkey to Europe, Europe to Turkey, Turkey to Europe. And then right below that, then you got Iraq, Syria. Am I right? Am I right so far? Syria's on the left, right below, kind of borders Turkey. What else does Syria border? What does Syria border on the west side?
I think like Jordan, maybe.
Well, there you go. That's the answer. The Jordanians love us. They'll let us fucking launch from there. And if not, we have carriers. Why do we have carriers? What's the point of carriers if we can't launch from the fucking ocean?
Yeah, we can launch that humanitarian aid. Let's say we get that approved and we do it. The U.S. helps, provide food and nourishment for a few people. They did it for the Yazidis in Iraq. Okay, let's say we do that to some extent. I don't think that it's like the teach a man. You feed a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to a fish, you feed him forever. We're just giving him a fish for a day. We're just saving them for a small amount of time, and then they're going to just keep dying. So,
are you saying you don't do anything? What are you saying? We let them starve to death. We let them.
No, we should do it. We should do it. I'm saying do it then. Yeah, that's a reasonable thing. They should do it. But I don't know why they're not doing it. They should.
Well, what we're not talking enough about Assad and Putin and what they're doing. Why are they allowing these children to suffer? I think they've suffered. There's no war happening anymore. People are still calling it a war. If it's a war, it's a war between, giants and worms at this point. Okay, there literally is no war. They are just killing everyone.
Well, the thing is, there's going to be some type of Islamic caliphate to come out of the victor, but there's three running for it right now that are still around. There's the Ba'ath Party, which is the older version. Everyone with the red, white, black flag. The Iraqi, Syrian, Egyptian flag. How they had they were trying to do it through the Ba'ath Party. Hold on. Let me just finish.
I'm not talking about ISIS.
Just hold on one second. Hold on one second, fam. Let me finish. So you have that. factor, right? Then the second one is the Muslim Brotherhood. It's a political ideology. It's linked to Mohammed Morsi in Egypt. They were democratically elected, and then there was a military coup, and Fatah al-Sisi took over. So those are the two first political parties that took over that were trying to establish a caliphate. The third one to come into power did it without being elected. They were known as today as ISIS. They just decided to take terrorists from all over the world and bring them to a region and just claim to be the caliphate. So they have those three vying for caliphate control, right? Now Russia is backing the Ba'ath Party. A lot of people in the West is backing Mohammed, or is backing Fatah al-Sisi to overthrow Morsi because they don't want the Islamic Brotherhood. And then you have ISIS, who everyone's against. So it's kind of like they know that eventually a caliphate or an Islamic state will come. The question is, who do you want leading that Islamic state? And Russia wants Syria to do it. They want the Ba'ath Party to do it for whatever reason. Putin is in love with the Ba'ath Party, and it's sickening.
I don't get it, because as far as I'm concerned, Syria, Iraq, and Iran, and Turkey, and Saudi Arabia, and all these countries it is an Islamic state. That's an Islamic state. It's different types of Islam, but it's an Islamic. They're all Islamic theocracies. I don't understand these idiots. That's why I'm an atheist. Thank God I'm an atheist. Thank you, fake God.
Saddam Hussein was not a very good Muslim. He was looked down upon.
Yeah, but they still lived under some form of a Islamic culture in Iraq when Saddam was in power.
I don't know. Saddam was secular. He allowed people to have music and shit like that. Same thing with Turkey. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, Turkey even has, is very secular. There's no religious compulsory anything. Like, you can miss your fast and drink alcohol and you're not going to get lashes or anything. So it's like,
you might have natural consequences from your community, though, within the law.
Not in Turkey. There's no like really rural villages where people are stoning people in Turkey. But maybe on the border.
You agree Syria, it was an Islamic state.
Well, yeah. Well, Syria is different. They're ruled by the Alawi sect of the Ba'ath Party. It's very different over there. The Alawis, they're almost like a cult. They're very different from mainstream Islam. So that's what makes Syria unique. But I think a lot of these, like Saudi Arabia, who put those kings in power? America. The West did. We know Britain had its hand in choosing who they wanted to be the leaders. So, I mean, it was a matter of uniting tribes, who could get it done and who could allow the puppet strings to be pulled.
I just don't get it, because if we're so afraid of an Islamic state, yet our biggest ally in the Middle East is the most restrictive Islamic theocracy in the entire region, Saudi Arabia. So I don't understand. We're so ass backwards with what we're doing over there. And, it's the oil. Everyone knows it's the oil. If it wasn't for the oil, Saudi Arabia would probably be our mortal enemy. But they're not, because they have oil, lots of oil. And they struck deals with us, and the royals are best buddies with all of the elite.
Saudi Arabians look down upon the rest of Arabia. They're very, I guess, prejudiced against them. They think they're better than them.
Exactly. They're very how do I say? They're on their high horse. They figure they have OPEC control more so than anyone, and they have promised America that they would never swear allegiance. And this is true. They will never swear allegiance to a caliph outside of the Saudi Arabian king. So like that's where America's like, okay, we can trust Saudi Arabia. They promised this to us. If they break this promise, we're going to fuck them up. So it's like,
what have they done for us lately other than give us oil? What have they done? Else have they done?
They helped us get Saddam out, they helped us get into Afghanistan, the military bases, they let us build there and have construction companies there and trade. Other countries don't like us over there. Other countries are against American intervention and integration, but they love us over in Saudi.
What the hell is going on in the world, dude? How do we measure? How do we balance? How do we balance reward versus value when it comes to allegiances, because, you know, Saudi Arabia is a very wealthy nation. Okay, they have very advanced military, most of which was purchased from the United States. They have a very large standing army. They have advanced aerial capabilities, naval capabilities, and they're not doing anything. They're fighting the. What are they doing? They're not even helping to fight. They're not even helping Yemen. They're not even helping Yemen. I mean, it's ridiculous.
They don't like them, man. They hate Yemenis.
Well, you think they would at least be against the Iranian backed militias, you know, but they don't do anything. I can't remember the last time Saudi Arabia did anything in my lifetime, militarily anywhere of any substantial form.
Like I said, they're not Orthodox Sunnis either. They're Wahhabis. They're like they're an extreme group of Muslims that don't fit anywhere in the spectrum. So, you know, I don't like Saudis myself. I can just tell you that because they're such a special case, America works well with them because America doesn't have to choose Sunni or Shiite. They're like, oh, we love the Wahhabis, the Saudis. You know, it's like,
why aren't they fighting ISIS? Why aren't they sending their planes, their troops, their tanks, their weapons?
They're more of a defensive front to where they're just
no shit. They don't do shit.
They're not going on the offense. They station all their soldiers on the border, kind of thing. I don't know. That's how the Saudis do it. You get other people to do your dirty work.
What I'm saying is, if we're gonna have allies in the region that are worth a fucking goddamn, then they should be worth a fucking goddamn. That's all I'm saying.
Well, now you see the clusterfuck that we're in, where we're making allegiances with people that don't have a good payout.
Well, you know what? I almost think that why are we allied with Saudi Arabia? We should be. I almost think we should be allied with Iran. That's what I almost think.
Then it would be over, Phant0m. The war would be over. There would be no terrorism. Are you kidding me? Iran's potential. They are a freaking modern nation. They have real military backing. They can fuck some shit up. That is why Israel and the whole world is standing against Iran. We don't want them to have nuclear energy and be successful because they are fucking strong.
I'm all for stopping nuclear proliferation, no matter where it is, including here, including our own stockpiles. But certainly, they don't need nuclear weapons to be a powerful force. And really, if you think about it, we're responsible for any nuclear proliferation going on in the Middle East. It's our fault, and the reason is because we gave nukes to Israel. Okay, so that's it. If we didn't want nuclear proliferation in the Middle East, you don't have to be a genius to know that you should have used your leverage on Israel to say no, you cannot develop nuclear weapons. That it's a hypocritical policy, especially given the fact that we're the only nation in the history of mankind to use nuclear weapons offensively in wartime.
What do you think about Mahmoud Ahmadinejad running for president next year?
Mahmoud Ahmadinejad is definitely not as open to secular reforms and alliances as the current president, and I hope he never comes back.
Oh, if you haven't heard, he's on a comeback campaign trail, and rumor has it that the supreme leader. Now, he didn't say that he's forbidden to run, but he advised Ahmadinejad as a friend to him. He said it might be better for you if you stayed out of this one. He phrased it in a way in their language where it's like a friendly gesture to kind of save your friend from humiliation. He was like, it might be better you sit this one out, bro. It's kind of like that. Well, so it looks as if he's really going on the campaign trail, and he's been giving speeches, and there's a overwhelming underground movement for Ahmadinejad 2017.
Yeah, well, good luck with that.
Well, I just brought it up because, you said that we should increase relations with Iran, and that would solve the problem. But how could we ever do such a thing if Ahmadinejad is president? It'd be impossible.
Well, you can't do it, period, because of the generational length demonization of Iran in American media, the majority opinion of Americans towards Iran. It can never happen. We can't. It's not like we can just wake up one day and we'll be best friends. But I'm just saying, I wish that we would have started it differently years ago, way back when. I wish when the revolution in Iran happened against the dictator that we installed into power, okay, I wish that we would have made a strategic choice to back the revolution and then to have developed a long-term relationship. Because I think that if we would have done that, not only would Iran be way more secular today than it is now, but influenced by American imports and cultural ideals, but we wouldn't have this situation going on that we have right now, because we could have dealt with Saddam Hussein in a much easier way through diplomacy.
Absolutely. I think that there was just a fear at the time of the return of the Persian Empire. A lot of people just not wanting to see them great again. It's just something in the history books that people don't like. They don't like to see a bunch of Aryan tribes ruling over the Middle East. They had to do so with the Turks under the Ottomans, and they said, never again will a white man from a white tribe rule over the Semites. But it would have been good if we had backed them. I think that if I had to pick right now a politician in the Middle East out of all those capable to rule the entire Middle East as like the president of the U.S., like a president of the United Middle East or an Islamic state, let's look at all the leaders right now. They all fucking suck. They all have no clout. They're all crazy militants, or they're just weird religious people. None of them really secular. All the ones that are president of secular nations are secretly, very strict religious men. The only person who I would actually back as the leader of the Islamic State today is Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, for the only reason that he's a politician that knows about diplomacy, how to wear a suit and sit in a meeting and talk things out, rather than calling up his generals and going to war with every single person he can go to war with. I think that there's a place for, he's a professor. He's a college professor. He knows how to conduct himself in that type of setting. Like Saddam Hussein, Gaddafi, Pervez Musharraf, all these guys, even right now, Fatah al-Sisi, they're all generals. They're all warlords. You can't sit down in a room with those types of men and have a civil discussion. So I think right now our best option is, like you said, is to somehow get Iran on our side. If we can't, take Ahmadinejad out of there and put him in some war-torn area like Syria and give it to him. I don't know. There have been so many times when the caliphate was moved from one capital and one nation, from Istanbul to Iraq, or to Baghdad, or from one city and one nation to another city. And the leaders were the same. The leaders didn't change nationalities. So I think it's entirely possible if we take Ahmadinejad, plant him in some place like Syria, and create something new.
Fuck Mahmoud Ahmadinejad in his tight little butthole. Yeah, that's what I got to say about that. If you want to have a ruler of a union, if you want to have a union, the European Union doesn't have like a president. Okay, you're talking about getting rid of all sovereignty, 100% of all nations, and having one large land ruled by lunacy. And it'll never happen. Now, a Middle Eastern Union is possible, which could help to bring some of the lesser advanced cultures into the 21st century a lot quicker through e-commerce, through commerce and e-commerce, and integrating more modern technologies like internet infrastructure and stuff like that. That could be beneficial, and it would create a climate for greater peace because you have a union. That's what a union means. I think that's what we should have here. We should have a North American Union here. Unions are good. Brexit is retarded. And that's all I got to say about it. But, I mean, if you're out trying to survive, let's say you're going Bear Grylls style and you're out surviving, trying to survive off the land in a disaster, or you get stranded somewhere, you'd be a lot happier if you had a partner, or two or three or four or five. If it was a group of you, you'd be way happier, more successful, pooling your resources, your knowledge.
I agree. I just think that the problem is how they're going to do it. Like we went over, there's different groups vying for control and different nations backing them. But
I think it should be a British national. Okay, should be the leader of the whatever you're talking about.
The Aga Khan.
Yeah, a British Muslim who immigrated to the Middle East should lead it.
I mean, yeah, the Shiites and the Ismailis, I mean, they would love that, I think, because he's like their current imam. But it's how do you get the Sunnis?
I don't know who the hell that is. All I know is I think that it should be a British guy, because I imagine that it would have to be someone who could communicate with the world in a familiar way, and that starts with language. So you must speak English. You must present yourself in a good way. To be such a leader of such a large, powerful entity.
Yeah, I've said it before and I'll say it again. A lot of people never thought that the Islamic Caliphate would come back in our lifetimes, and it's apparent it's going to come back eventually. It's just a matter of time and a matter of how. But hopefully they do it in a more peaceful manner from here on out, and just like you said, hopefully they have somebody that's moderate, that understands English, and if they don't,
well, I really hope you don't mean ISIS, because if that's what's going to be, if that's going to be the Islamic State that ends up existing, that doesn't mean peace for the world. Let me tell you that. There's plenty of more moderate ways of practicing Islam that would be more appropriate than what these barbarians are trying to do.
well, no, of course not ISIS, but definitely, I think what dictates brutality is the regime, who's the leader of the regime, what the mission statement is, and that sort of thing. When America went from Confederacy to the Union, it's not like we swapped out all the Confederate soldiers that were left. It wasn't like we swapped out every citizen of the South. We still kept everybody alive. We didn't go massacre the entire South and then the North proliferate in the South and take over. No, everyone was still around. They just changed their name. They changed their flag. We changed our positions, and we adhered to the Constitution.
Yeah,
that
we
the
made
North
it
had.
illegal to do the ignorant things you used to be able to do.
Right.
So a lot of people still wanted to do those things. They couldn't do it because it's against law.
Right. So the same thing would be in the Middle East now. If there was a regime change, a different caliph, a different capital, not, Raqqa or whatever city they're using now, but a different capital, a different leader. A lot of those ISIS soldiers will pledge allegiance to the new leader, but hopefully they'll follow the laws of the new leader, and which should be moderate laws and that sort of thing. I don't think we need to exterminate 100% of the people alive right now and start super fresh, which is what a lot of Republicans want to do. I think that we just need a regime change. We need change from extreme to moderate.
Well, okay, look, I'm not the biggest Israel lover in the world. They do a lot of war crimes. They're nasty. Okay, they're self-entitled. They barge in. They make new settlements, but they're there, and they're not going anywhere. Okay, so that's the first thing that whatever this thing is you're talking about has to understand. Israel is not going anywhere. They're never going to be gone. They will be there forever. As long as the United States supports Israel, they will never go away. So as long as you can come to that realization, I don't know what you got to do. Maybe go out into the sand dunes and do some meditation to Allah, and finally come to the epiphany that, hey, Israel is not going to be going anywhere. Once you can first come to that realization, I think that's the first step, because I know these people when they envision an Islamic State, it doesn't include Israel. So they better just get used to it. Get used to Israel. They're going to be there for forever.
Well, that's probably the catalyst for World War III. Like I said, it's kind of like the federal government overriding state government, kind of like Texas. It's very unique to where, if the demands were too high from the federal government, Texas would be like, we can't do that. There's no way in hell we're seceding. But I don't think Texas has ever been pushed to that limit yet. But in the case of Israel, if there was an Islamic State, if all the nations in the Middle East joined that Islamic State and they had a constitution and law enforcement, taxes, all that stuff was good and it was going on, and they tried to add Israel in, and Israel was added in, but they wanted to maintain that their laws override federal laws, the Islamic State would say no.
You really think that a country that calls itself the Jewish state is going to join the Islamic State? Get the hell in. They're never gonna.
I mean, that's how it was in the past. Even when
so what? So what? How it was in the past? Israel is what it is now. They're not going to fucking go for it. They're going to. I'm telling you right now. That's your problem? Because when Israel throws its hands up in there and it says, "Nope, that's it. That's crossed the line. We're gonna fucking fuck shit up now." If they make a call to the president of the United States and say, "Hey, we need you guys in this one," that's it. World War III.
And again, that's what I'm saying. World War III. That's exactly how I see it playing out in my head. I see a caliphate coming to power, Israel not happy with that, and shit hitting the fan.
Yeah, but you know. They can't defeat us. So that means that no Islamic State. No Islamic State for you.
I agree if the conditions now with climate are the same. If there is extreme climate change, and I mean meteor, if there's a meteor that strikes the earth, like the Bible says will happen, and I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm saying the World War III scenario in the Bible says a meteor hits the earth and it causes some shit to happen. So I could see the Islamic State winning only if, all the coastal cities are wiped out, if we lose our Atlantic seaboard, if Europe's western coastal cities are all gone. If that is the case.
How convenient. A giant asteroid hits the Earth and only the western part of the population.
The TPP survives. The western part of the United States and the Pacific Ocean coast survive. So the TPP would actually be very helpful. It's a very good contingency plan to maintain a functioning government. But again, I'm going into conspiracies at this point. It's not safe to argue this.
Can I just point out the fact that we don't need the Bible to tell us that meteors and asteroids will hit the Earth, that they do in fact hit the Earth regardless of whether there's a Bible or not, and that eventually one will hit and probably wipe out all life on Earth.
Correct.
Human science intervenes. Can we all agree on that?
Yes, absolutely. Just by observation, we know that all planets go through that cycle of cataclysms from meteors or space.
Yeah, we also have roving black holes that travel around at about 32 miles per hour that could sneak up on the Earth, and we would only have about 48 hours notice before we pass its, they call it the, it's like going over Niagara Falls. Once you pass the outer perimeter of these black holes, there's no escaping. Then that will rip matter down to the molecule apart and kill everyone on Earth. Then you also have, you have your gigantic solar flares that will microwave the light side of the Earth. Then you have super volcanoes that could explode at any time. The one right next to me could blow up and throw an ash cloud into the atmosphere so large that it would freeze the planet, kill all plant life, and then animal life. Things can happen at any time. And you know what? When it happens, it's not like all the Muslims and ISIS over in the Middle East are going to be sitting pretty while everyone else is fucking dying.
Yeah, I only brought it up for just argument's sake. Like, what would have to happen for the Islamic State to win? That would have to happen. Like, literally, a miracle for them would have to happen, because they would lose. Like you said, Israel and America are really powerful at this point. If they really wanted to do some damage, they could just wipe everyone out, and that'd be the end of it. But if a meteor hit the Earth, then they might have a fighting chance.
Can you imagine if the United States utilized its military in the same way Israel utilizes its military? How brutally Israel utilizes their military in a very brutal fashion. We're not as brutal as Israel, believe me, not even close. Okay, but if we ever had an alliance and a conflict, I think the region would determine the way in which it is fought. So if we had an alliance with Israel during a conflict against some sort of an Islamic state, I think Israel's military tactics would prevail and therefore influence themselves upon our own military. And before you know it, you have the United States dropping white phosphorus all over neighborhoods. It would be brutal. It wouldn't be like Iraq and Afghanistan. It would be a complete and all-out decimation of the entire area.
That sounds like Armageddon to me if I ever heard it. Plagues.
He left because he's shy. I told him he's shy. He needs to. You know, he played a video in the room.
No, it's just he's dealing with some domestic stuff.
Yeah, well, you know what? You remember when I left my cam and went downstairs for a minute? Yeah, the fucking police were knocking on my door.
What?
Yeah, they're knocking on my door. 3 police. I was like, "Who is it?" They were like, "It's police. Open the door." Well, I opened the door, and they're looking for my sister. She doesn't live here. So I was like, "She don't live here. Go away." They went away.
Oh, okay. I thought you got swatted or something.
No, but they were looking real aggressive though. Like they had their guns out, and I'm a big dude, man. I can be a little intimidating. So I was trying to be as polite as possible. I came out with my hands, you know, visible. Because I know I'm not black, but still, they'll shoot a motherfucker, dude. I'm telling you, they're crazy. The cops are nuts, dude.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. We covered a lot of the police shooting in one of our past episodes. It was it's a harsh reality that we have to deal with nowadays with our own domestic issues within the United States. You know, we talk about ISIS and how brutal they are to their own people. They beat them, they kill them, etc. Well, it's not that much different over here, in my opinion. I think police brutality in the United States is just as bad. The fear is just as bad. I think I could probably survive living in a Middle Eastern country. I you know, just as much as I could survive here on the streets.
Yeah. Okay. So go over to Raqqa right now and walk around the streets asking guys if they want to go up to your room with you, see what happens to you.
I mean, I don't think it's any different from walking around the streets of Chicago's most dangerous areas at around 1 a.m.
You're talking to someone who grew up in Chicago, so be careful. All right, because I guarantee you I could go to the south side of Chicago to Cabrini Green, which is right next to Wrigley Park. It's the most dangerous neighborhood in the world, in the entire country. I could go in there and walk down the street asking folks if they want to come have gay sex with me, and I wouldn't get killed.
Well, that's within context to that's not illegal here, but
that's what I said. Go to Raqqa and go around asking people to come fuck you in the ass up in your room.
Well, I'm just saying that walking around and getting shot by gunfire is just, or walking around and getting flogged by somebody or beaten up by somebody who's just stereotyping you based on the way you talk or dress, not for committing an act. Phant0m, we're not talking about committing an act, because remember, black Americans here are getting beaten and attacked by police for doing nothing, for being innocent. So that's what I'm talking about. Like
I'm trying to illustrate the difference. Okay. The brutality is everywhere. The cause is what we're talking about. So let me ask you a serious question. If you went to Damascus, okay, so just go to like the most populated city in Syria, and you walked around the streets, and you were wearing fishnet stockings and a bustier, and you're a man. And you're walking around cross-dressing, and then you proceed to ask any man you see if they want to, get down. What would happen to you as a result?
I don't know, Phant0m. I wouldn't be dumb enough to do such a thing.
What do you think what might happen, though? What do you think would happen?
At worst, you get jailed and tried and found guilty and you die.
You'll be executed. You'll either be executed or you'll be killed before there is any jury by the people around you on the street right there.
Okay, and if you break the law in America and the sentence is death, the same thing will happen to you here.
Yeah, but I'm trying to create the contrast. Now, if a woman decided to not wear a hijab in the same city and then dance down the street while singing Sound of Music, what would happen to her? Hills are alive with the sound of music.
I mean, she'd probably be thrown into a mental institution, honestly, because that's
really
like even here in America, that's pretty fucking weird.
Yeah, but come on. I mean, it is a little goofy, but she.
No, but I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Yeah, it's a lot worse over there. But my only thing was like, we're so focused on policing other nations' police brutality, but we're so ineffective in doing our own here.
We have horrible police brutality in this country. People are beaten to death. People are suffocated to death in prisons. People are accosted and harassed by police. So we have a lot of bad issues, but I'm not going to create a false equivalency by comparing our police forces to the religious police in like Saudi Arabia who go around trying to execute sodomizers and women who are showing too much of their face,
No, I get you. I get where you're coming from.
That's the difference. You see, here you just get your ass beat because you're a certain color. Over there, there's a lot.
That was the whole point of the discussion in regime change and moving toward moderate civilization rather than extremism. But regardless, even if we move them towards moderate civilization, yeah, police brutality is still going to be an issue because we're pretty moderate and secular here. And I mean, if we can't even control our own police here, we're not going to be able to control them somewhere else.
Hey, man, have you seen these here? You seen these before?
Oh, nice. S'mores.
That's the s'mores, nickel. Man, I get high. I smoke a lot of weed, and I eat these s'mores cookies. And nice. I just keep getting fatter and fatter. Ooh, tell you what.
Well, yeah, I've had my gallbladder out, so I can't indulge on too many fats, but make sure you eat one for me.
I mean, look at that shit, dude. It's got a chocolate center, right? And marshmallow and chocolate chips, too, in it. Like, literally, it's just the most horrible thing you can eat.
It looks delicious. And I think we might have lost Ollie for the night. DJ OlympusMons is out with, I don't know, with a few domestic issues that he's handling up on. If you're tuning in, this is...
I took over. I'm taking this shit over. This is my show.
This is the Above Limits podcast with DJ Sin and Phant0m filling in for DJ OlympusMons tonight. Been covering certain topics like the political debates going on between Trump and Clinton, the state in the Middle East, and Chips Ahoy's awesome flavor of s'mores. Shameless plug.
And it's so good. Oh my god. Hey, what's the YouTube channel for this podcast?
I believe it's the Above Limits podcast. The Above Limits. But we've been going for some time now. Were there any other topics you wanted to cover? Was there anything else you wanted to cover, Phant0m, before we wrapped up for the night?
Yeah, what's the YouTube channel for this podcast?
If I'm not mistaken, it's the Above Limits podcast. I don't know if it has a unique link yet. I can find it for you and put a link in the text box.
Oh, wait a minute. So these Google Hangouts podcasts, I assumed you had to have these linked to a YouTube account. You don't have to have it? You can just do a Hangout?
Oh, they are linked. They are linked to a channel.
I just want to know where the hell it's going to be.
Here, I'll give you the link right now. There it is in the group chat.
Good, because I'm a very vain individual. Maybe I want to watch it about 50,000 times tomorrow.
It's awesome. We could use 50,000 views.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, they're cookie based, so only 2 of my views will count.
We got to get those proxies set up.
Hey, hold on, don't end this shit yet. I want to look at what you guys got so far. You got some good stuff going on around here. 1 month ago,
our last live stream was with Ryan Dawson. It was a pretty decent interview. A lot of coverage on 9/11 and certain things about. I think he mentioned a little about Hillary Clinton's campaign, and he's very. I think he's right. He's leaning right, and he's very anti-establishment. It seems, but very good interview. Interesting fella. For those of you watching this podcast, make sure to check out our other podcasts, including the Ryan Dawson interview.
Right, Ryan Dawson, D-A-W. Wait, am I spelling right?
Yep, just like the creek.
Man, you guys are doing pretty good. You use a little help on your. I know I'm in porn websites, but you have to have a general SEO knowledge about the general internet. So my knowledge does go to mainstream promotion, and all of my websites are video tubes, despite what may be in the content. I may know a little bit about how to title and descript videos, but we'll have a discussion about that later.
Definitely sounds good, man. It's good to have you on the show. Finally, it took me a while to beg and plead with DJ Olympus, but it was a surprise to see you because he was really telling me no originally, and I guess he just finally buckled under the pressure. I've been bugging him.
Hey, anybody watching this podcast, don't let these fake ass motherfuckers try to act like they like me. OlympusMons hates my guts. All right.
But it's always good to have people on the show that have different views, because otherwise it's a circle jerk, and I don't need Ollie to tell me how great my opinions are, and he certainly doesn't need me telling him the same. So it's good to have you.
That's what I told him. That is what I told him. He played a video of one of your podcasts in Tiny Chat, and I said, I was like, you agree on everything. I was like, what do you need friction. You need a Hannity and a Combs. You need to have friction. That's what creates heat. That's what creates energy. Or else it's just cold and boring.
Absolutely. So hopefully in the future episodes of the podcast, we will have you and others as well.
Why don't you get Brett Keane in here? Why don't you get the Amazing Atheist in here? Why don't you get what's his face, Von Helton in here?
I'm sure Ollie wouldn't mind if we can get them in here. I think that if they willingly will participate pro bono, then absolutely, why not?
I think that we just did it just now, didn't we? I think that's official. I think the Hitting the Above Limits podcast is now officially inviting the Amazing Atheist, Von Helton,
Brett Keane.
You are all officially invited to be guests on the Above Limits podcast. I think it would be very good for you and everyone else, and the lightning, and not all at the same time though, because that's just way too much. That's overkill. But you are all invited, and also maybe Secular Opinion might be a good guest for you guys as well. I know how to get in touch with him. I got you on that one.
Cool. So that's a preview for everyone listening and tuning in. That will be our next future edition of the Above Limits podcast, with special guests from the not too distant past to spice things up a little bit here on the show.
Have a good night.
Was there anything else you wanted to drop in?
How do we sign off? What do we do, like a...
Well,
that's the show.
Traditionally, DJ OlympusMons has intro and outro music, but again, technical difficulties. We lost DJ Olympus for this edition at the end. However, he will be back on the next show. I think we just hang up and...
What happened to him? Did he have to take a shit, or what's going on here?
I'm chalking it up to technical difficulties for the night. I don't know if it's a domestic issue or something in house that he's dealing with.
I know he eats a lot of Mexican food, so
He did have barbecue tonight. I know that.
all right. Well, thanks for having me.
Definitely. It's always a pleasure, Phant0m. Thanks for being on the show. This is the Above Limit podcast. I am DJ Sin. This is Phant0m, and we're signing off. Thanks for tuning in.